which is pretty funny. Sorry, the video cut off. I'll have to try and collate these two together. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Good intel, solid. I take Yulin whenever I get the chance. You know, being able to see what your opponent is planning before you play your tactic, it's sneaky good. It's not amazing, but it's sneaky good. Local rumors, yeah, again sneaky good. And you know, being able to take Yulin on board is, you know, he's this guy is my go-to guy. You know, the first leader I want to be. Of all the leaders, I want this guy pretty much in my party every time, without fail. He's my go-to guy. Just get the 3 eyes, because the rebels have so many strong intel missions. Having this guy around to block them is pretty key, I think. But yeah, anyway, being able to wipe out a region, you know, it's good, definitely good. Scouting mission, yeah, very strong card as well. It's unexpected. You know, you can 4 TIE fighters this card's gotten stronger because of swarm tactics. You know, being able to just dump 4 TIE fighters in a system, it becomes possible, you know, to take on a decent rebel fleet. You know, you can play that swarm tactics, deal 2 damage, and you know, you get lucky on the black dice. You might even take it on one Cal cruiser potentially. Very strong card. Blindside, yeah, it's good. It is good. I don't tend to take it though. I don't know. It is good, but I don't know. It's just not my flavor. It's just not my flavor. Public support, yeah, this is good. I've underestimated this card. I've won a couple of games just because I was able to, you know, usually get enough ground. 3 stormtroopers is actually a pretty big deal. It's sneaky what 3 extra stormtroopers can accomplish. So yeah, I've won a couple of games with it. I don't normally take it, but more recently I've been, you know, debating it a bit more. Because the main thing is the leader you get. He's not the best. I mean, look at him. He's an inferior Jabba the Hutt, and he's an inferior Palpatine. But you know, this action card is pretty good, and that alone can make it worth the choice. Boba Fett where? You know, for the longest time, I had no idea how to play this card. I was like, what is the point in this card? But recently I figured it out. It's to prevent your opponent from trying to rescue a captured leader. Oh, there you go. Now it makes sense. So yeah, this is good. This is a great card to pick if you're planning on, you know, if you have like 2 to 3 interrogation missions in your hand and you just want to spend the turn interrogating the hell out of a rebel leader, then yeah, this is great insurance for that. Ready for action. Yep, you get the choice of your space leader or your ground leader. I normally go space with this. It's a good card. You get a free defense basically. So it's good to try and block your opponent from fulfilling the some of their combat objectives. So it's good for that. It's a decent card. Keep them from escaping. It's not bad. It's not bad. With interdictors, you could arguably say this card isn't as good as it once was, but yeah, it's a decent card. It's not amazing, but it's decent, and you get a solid leader as well. So yeah, target the generator. It's a very strong card, but I mean now you have it in this form now, so you know you've already got this available to you. Unless your opponent is going ridiculously heavy on structures, I just don't tend to bother with this anymore, because in terms of leader icons, Krennic's Finest just does it so much better. Look at this. They're both 1/3 for dice rolls, so there's no difference there. But Krennic gets 2 extra minor icons when rolling for fist missions than this guy. And because most Spec Ops missions are naturally opposed because they're interrogation missions, you want to be getting as much dice as you can, and this guy just outdices this guy. So yeah, most of the time I try and take this guy instead, basically. But, you know, this is a strong card still. You know, if your opponent goes super heavy on structures, take this if you can. Secret facility. Yeah, this is good. Okay, the purpose of this card is to set up an Imperial Might play. So you have to reveal this, the probe, at the beginning of your first turn in the command phase. So before you play your first mission, you reveal this. So the idea is, you know, let's just take the example, they're on Endor again. I'm setting up an Imperial Might. And so beginning of my turn, I've revealed the shield bunker and then play Imperial Might to get a bunch of force onto Hoth. So the beauty of this is that the rebel player doesn't get the opportunity to destroy the shield bunker, which would then prevent you from playing Imperial Might. So that's where this card really shines. Plus, you have a choice of two pretty good leaders to take on board. I normally go Krennic's finest, but it depends. Krennic himself is also very good. Sweep the area. A fantastic card design, in my opinion. It pairs well with Krennic's finest signature mission as well. So, you know, you can lure them out to the system that you've chosen and then get an auto capture at the end of the round. If you don't have that combo set up though, there are a couple of good positions that you should go for. Dagobah is one of them. If you haven't put your Death Star on Dagobah, then Dagobah is a good choice. Because of Seek Yoda, you can set that trap up there. Kashyyyk is also another good system because of Wookiee Uprising, and Mon Calamari is another good pick. Again, because the Rebel player has missions specifically related to those systems. Otherwise, you just have to look at the board and see where it's likely for the Rebel player to place a leader. So Geonosis is a good spot, for example, because that is often the most common way for a Rebel player to start building ion cannons and shield generators. So setting a trap in Geonosis is pretty good. What other? Ord Mantell's another good spot, another popular place. Utapau, again a popular place if it's not already taken. Yeah, you just have to read the board and see, you know, where the Rebel player is likely going to, you know, dump their leaders, basically. Lord Vader's orders, sneaky good. You know, being able to see the top three objectives it's good. You can then plan against those objectives. You know, you can slow the Rebel player down. It's a good card. Like every time I've never regretted taking the card. You know, every time I take it, I see the three objectives and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what he's going to be up to in the next few turns or whatever. Yeah, and I've never regretted taking the card, so it is a good one. Moving on to before we move on to projects, I want to talk about my personal leader lineup. So in the Imperial deck, you have 9 Spec Ops missions, fists, 8 diplomacy missions, and 7 intel missions, and like 5 project ones in your main deck. So, therefore, bearing those numbers in mind, it is of utmost importance to have a good number of Spec Ops leaders in your leader pool, because those are the missions you're most likely to draw into. It's also important that you take either Yularen or Jabba the Hutt, because there are 3 missions in that deck which have a requirement of 3 intel, and it's not always fun to double assign. Double assigning is, it's a bit iffy, especially as the Imperials, where you need, who are, you know, as the Imperials, they are often strapped for things to do. There's so much they want to do, they often don't have enough actions to do everything. So double assigning generally isn't a good idea. With all of that said, my personal lineup is, I like taking Krennic's Finest. He's essentially a 3-fist leader. And unlike Boba Fett, he can also, move around, he can also fight, he's a good leader. Jabba the Hutt, I mean, he's just basically your second Palpatine. And, blocking, I just normally keep him on standby, start blocking stuff. Ozell, just incredible. I mean, in terms of icons, not so much, but in terms of, great signature mission. 2 great action cards. That's all the reason you want to, and you want to take this guy on board. And he's another guy for projects, which is always good. And then my third and final leader is a bit, my fourth and final leader gets a bit tricky. I know, I mentioned Yulon every time. I put Jabba first, haven't I? I mean, look, one or the other. One or the other would do you good. You can even have both, to be honest, but one or the other at least. You probably want another fist leader though. Like there's good options. Like Cynthier's good. Where is he? I can't find him. Where'd I put him? Oh, there he is. Piet's good. Krennic's also good. It gets tricky. It does get a little tricky, actually. I mean, if you're going for 9 leaders, then you can do something like this. But let's just assume 8. We'll assume 8 leaders. So one of these 2, you need Ozell. Ozell's he's so good. This guy's good as well. He's essentially a 3-fist leader. You could put Boba Fett here as well, I guess. But I generally go him. One more leader. There's a couple of options you can go for, really. Probably another leader with fists, I think would be best. Though I'd arguably go this. I'd go this guy probably. He's got 2 fists, which is great. And the 4 TIE Fighter action card's pretty strong as well. Something like this, I think is fine. Maybe this actually. I think Yulon's probably better than Jabba the Hutt, in all honesty. Just having straight up 3 to oppose those intel missions is really important. But something like this is what I would go for. Anyway, let's move those aside. Projects, yes. Construct Death Star. In the base game, this was terrible. This was such a bad card. In Rise of the Expansion, I would argue that this is the best project in the deck. I'm being serious. And the sole reason for this is because you can set up an Imperial Might with it. What this allows you to do in conjunction with Imperial Might is that it allows you to set up an attack force in any remote system. It's important that you make sure that the rebel player no longer has any leaders floating around. They can't try and move a fleet in to destroy this thing. But yeah, basically once those conditions are set. Again, take an example, bases in Endor. You go Construct Death Star, and then you go Imperial Might. You deploy 4 units into that system, and let's just take these 3, I guess. Deploy your 4 units, and if you deploy a shield bunker among those 4 units, then when it comes to the next turn, you get to deploy 2 more units. And let's do this actually, and this. And that gives you a net total of 5 units that you can then move in to attack into Endor with. Pretty strong. But you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure they can't blow this up before you play your Imperial Might. And you also have to be careful that they're not going to rapid mobilize. So ideally, you know, make sure that they don't have any leaders, any project leaders sitting on missions before you attempt this combo, because that would just be so sad. You just amount this massive force and they fly away. That would just be so sad. But yeah, if you make sure that those two factors are taken care of, amazing, amazing combination. It's so strong. And you can search this out as well with proceeding as planned. That's what makes this combo so much better. You can just search this out when you need to in the late game. One of my favourite tactics, and it's won me so many games. 2 copies of Super Star Destroyer. It's been upgraded in the expansion. It's very good card. The thing is though, it can take a while to get it out. So unless you draw this project early on, I don't tend to think it's worth playing. It just takes too long to get it, and by the time you do produce, unless you have ways of speeding up the production or whatever, by the time it gets into action, it can be too late if you draw this card in the mid game. It could just be too late, honestly. And committing 2 leaders to speed it up, it's costly. It's costly on your actions. So it is, but obviously, you know, it's a Super Star Destroyer. It's very strong. Like, it's almost invincible, I would say. The Rebel player would need such a big force to take it down. Especially given that you've got this card now to prevent up to 3 damage onto it. Interdict, I much prefer these interdictors. I much prefer getting those interdictors into play. I think it's a much better alternative. Because the interdictor entrapment is really strong. You know, cancel a tactic and play another. It's really strong. Comes with the benefit of preventing your opponents from running away. Yeah, I'd much rather just build interdictors, to be honest, if I can. 2 copies of Construct Factory. It's a good card. It's great for... I normally just play this to remove sabotage markers. Well, I mean, you know, rather than focus on getting better production, I would rather just remove sabotage off the board, because sabotage can just get annoying if it gets out of hand. But yeah, good project. Oversea project, honestly, this is mostly garbage. Yeah, I don't tend to play this that much. Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, it can come in handy, but yeah, it's not great. And then essentially you've got 3 copies of Super Laser and 1 single reactor ignition, which is kind of like your 4th laser, in a sense. But yeah, anyway. Super Laser, amazing. I mean, just being able to, you know, blow up a planet and gain loyalty in a system within the region, that basically crosses off 2 planets where the rebel base could be. It's very strong. Just make sure you don't go too crazy with it, because if the rebel player has the Inspire Sympathy objective, you know, they can score a lot of points off of that. So just be a little careful. I just realised the cards are too low up here. Just be a little bit careful of that, but otherwise, you know, lasers are your friend. They're a very good card. And it's also one of your only chances of taking out a very well-entrenched total ground force where the rebel base is. And that is mostly it for this review, I think, for this strategy guide. I could run through the space and ground tactics, but I don't think there's a whole lot to say on those. Maybe a couple of pointers, actually. This is very strong, so make sure when you're trying to invade the base, you know, take a couple of what you call TIE strikers with you if you can. You know, being able to negate the tow cables for a turn is yeah, can really make a difference. Target generator, yeah, this is amazing. Try and hold on to this until if you can, and if you set it up so that you have these 2 left, these 2 missions left. Turn 1, you can play this, and then turn 2, if this is your last one, you play this, take everything back, and then play this again. You can destroy 2 structures in 2 turns of ground battle, provided you know you still have an AT remaining. So yeah, imposing presence. yeah, I like to hold on to this card. You know, I'll only play this if I really want to see what my opponent is up to first, or if I just want to rush through the deck. But generally speaking, you know, this card it's good. It's a good card, but just hold on to it until you need to play it. I think that's about it, really. I think the rest of the other cards are, you know, pretty self-explanatory. So yes, that's everything for this guide to the playing as Imperials. So hopefully you now have the knowledge to crush the rebellion each and every time. Mission complete. Signing out.